I would see this thing on paper and go 5 or 6, but I got to give it one more point for just actually saving my life. Like, it did perform. Like, I got to give it one more point for that.
Very.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Gear Glazers. I'm Kyle, and this is Mike, aka Muddy McMuddle. And today, we're continuing our series on Trail Titans, and we're doing none other than the Toyota 4Runner. Mike, talk to me.
Dude, where are we right now?
So, we are in the middle of a light little snowstorm.
Yeah.
On the top of a mountain, and this is not accidental. The reason that we're here, well, it's sick, obviously, but the reason that we're here is because this is my experience with the Toyota 4Runner. So, I rented a Toyota 4Runner when I was up in the Park City Mountains on a ski trip, and I drove this thing around for a couple days. I put 2 snowmobiles on the back of it. I was towing them around the mountains, had, a car full of people, and it was a lot of fun. It was an awesome car, but during that trip, one night, I legitimately got stuck in a blizzard with 4 people in the car and 2 snowmobiles on the back. And this thing got me home.
Let's go.
Like, I actually was terrified for my life. I have experience driving off-road vehicles, but never driving in a blizzard.
Mm-hmm.
And I was freaking out. Like, and I don't even think the people in the car understood the severity of the situation that we were in, because there was just cars thrown off the sides of the road, 18-wheelers off the side of the road. You got that ice on the road that just makes it so that, my ABS is kicking in every 2 seconds. There's periods where I'm pressing the brakes and nothing's happening.
Oh my
Like, I'm just continuing to go. But this thing did the Toyota thing, man. Got me home, got us all home safe, and so that's why we're here.
Oh yeah, dude. This thing's got soft skills for days. You can't write that on paper. It doesn't say that on a spec sheet.
Nope, it does not.
And that's what's crazy about this thing, because we haven't gotten a new Toyota 4Runner for 15 years. This has been the same thing, just still kicking. That classic Toyota V6 that came in the Camry that people put 300,000 miles on without changing the oil. Like, I mean, nobody did that. It's an exaggeration. But yeah, this thing, it's really held up to time, and we're finally getting a new one after 15 years. But this thing put in its service and more.
So we just got a new 4Runner, as I'm sure you know, like the 2025. But yeah, like you said, I mean, it's been so long that people were waiting for that. And I think that it's kind of part of the charm. People know what they're getting into.
Yeah.
And I think that's nice for people.
Do you think people are disappointed with the new 4Runner?
I don't know. I think most people are happy with it, but I think you're going to always have your die-hard fans that are always just like, don't change it.
Yeah.
But for the most part, like, I'm a 4Runner fan, and I'm happy. Like, just give me a slight update. You know? Make it look more modern, and, like, you just keep the same bones.
Have you seen the Hulk Hogan memes?
No.
The 4Runner has 2 Hulk Hogan mustaches on the grill now, so they just Photoshop it next to Hulk Hogan
great.
with 2 mustaches.
That's pretty funny. I was going to say, when I was driving this car, something that might be really, really weird, because this is like a big old Toyota truck, it felt really light. It felt really light, and it's not. I looked up the weight. It's average. I think the weight's like just under 5,000 pounds, like normal truck weight. But the steering, I mean, even in 4-wheel drive, it's just like so light. It just felt incredibly, incredibly light.
Yeah. I mean, I would hope to God they have the chassis tuning down right and the gearing ratios down right if they've been making the same chassis for 15 years.
Yeah, seriously. And, this is a Toyota truck. At the end of the day, like one of the most reliable and indestructible vehicles of all time.
Yeah. No, we've seen the Hilux video, the famous Hilux video. You could strap a machine gun to the top of it, take over a village.
Literally, people do that.
This is the car to do it in.
And again, it's like we do some of the Raptor stuff. We just did the Jeep episode where we talked about how we had some experience off-roading. We're with our friends having a blast. There's a lot of off-road stories in different cars. We have stories in the Land Rover where we were driving that thing on the road course having a blast. I don't have any fun stories in this car. I thought I was gonna die, and then I didn't.
Yeah.
Slogan for Toyota, like.
Yeah, dude. I mean, it's gonna save your life. You know what I mean? It's gonna be there for you, but it's not gonna be glamorous about it. And I think that's that's the reason that this car gets a lot of flack, because it's like, on paper, it doesn't look like the value for your dollars are there. Like, this thing is somewhere close to $40,000. The dealers are marking them up like crazy, that they're always in demand forever. And it's just like, hey,
so, real quick,
how do you justify that?
TRD Pro, I think, is 50.
Yeah.
Or was 50, this year, but yeah, like you're saying, it's a lot of people are going to see that and be like, oh, what? It's a Toyota. Are you out of your mind?
Right.
But like you said it very well, like, it's soft skills.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think people have a big problem with the price tag, but at the end of the day, I mean, another thing about this is that value is going to be there. You can drive this thing for not a lot of money, because if you buy it brand new and you manage to get it for MSRP, you're going to sell it for pretty damn close to that.
Definitely. And there's a strong subculture for this car. This is one of those cars where there's like a really diehard community of people and they rally around it. And I think outside of that subculture, it's underrated.
Oh, yeah.
Like, most people see this thing on the road and they don't even look twice. Where it's like, this is one of the more capable cars that you're seeing on the road.
It is wild. It is wild how rugged it is, how reliable it is, how capable it is off-road. I mean, when you think of like real nerdy off-roading specs, like gearing ratios, or what do they call that? Is it an attack angle, or what is that? Like,
I forget the exact terminology.
The two angles for how steeply you can take something and how steeply you can depart from something. This has great ones.
So approach and departure angles. Yeah.
So it's got all the nerdy off-road specs, but it manages just to look like any old SUV.
Yeah, seriously. And again, like, we talk about the duality of some of these off-road cars. This is one of those cars, man. Like, you can put a whole family in this thing. You can ride it around town all day in the blistering sun. Mm-hmm. You can take it off snowy mountains. I mean, you can do... And the best part about this car that a lot of other cars don't have is you can do that year after year after year, and the thing will keep on ticking.
Yeah. So, obviously, the V6 that's in this thing is just... It's bulletproof. There is nothing to do about it. I mean, I took a look at the forums, and whereas the Jeep forums are just nothing but like, oh, this thing broke, or how do you guys replace this pulley? I can't get to it. It's that for thousands of posts. The forums for the 4Runner are just like word games. I swear to God, go to 4Runner, they're like word games. Like, you post one thing and the next person follows it up with another related word, and you guys tell a story piece by piece, because they got nothing else to talk about. They're like, what did you buy for your 4Runner? Haha, cute pictures of my 4Runner. And then, maintenance is just barren. Nobody's talking about maintenance.
That's great, man.
But I just don't know if the 2.4 turbo is going to uphold that, like, reliability legacy that the V6 had.
It's interesting. I mean, Toyota has to know that's what makes this car so important to people.
Yeah.
And if they're going to put their name on that, I'm hoping that they figure some things out. But whenever you're venturing into new territory like that, it's always questionable. Like, with the Z06 and our flat plane crank engine, like, Chevy's telling me and everyone else that bought that car, hey, we figured it out. It's not going to vibrate itself into oblivion. And I think any smart Z06 owner is thinking, okay, we'll see.
Yeah.
Like, I'm keeping my warranty, and I don't know about keeping it after. It's like, it's just, whenever you have a company that's known for reliability pushing into new territory, you never know what you're going to get.
Yeah. I mean, we saw what happened with the GT350 if we're talking about flat plane cranks. That thing has some issues. But people on the forums did seem to say that this 2.4 is not coming out of nowhere. It's not being developed only for this car. It has a track record going all the way back to like the 90s and in some iteration. And then the hybrid powertrain that's going to be accompanying that, obviously Toyota has a history of hybrid powertrains. They seem to be a little bit more concerned about how the added batteries will affect the handling, more so than how the hybrid powertrain and how the turbocharger would stand up as far as reliability.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. And honestly, I appreciate them for that.
Yeah.
My segment for today is sponsored by Backcountry Camping Gear.
Okay.
Because if you get stuck in this thing, you may as well get comfortable. I don't know who's going to save you, bro.
Yeah.
Okay, question number 1. Are you taking a 4Runner or a Jeep Wrangler Rubicon? TRD Pro or Wrangler Rubicon?
Wrangler Rubicon, not the 392?
No.
TRD Pro.
everything in my body is like Wrangler, but I can't make the words. I can't form the words to get it out. Like, I like the Wrangler more. I think the Wrangler has more clout, more prestige. I think it looks cooler. This thing is just, I have too much of a connection with this car personally. Like, I think I'm taking the TRD. I'm also entering a weird phase in my life where, like, honestly, I don't know that I would ever only drive a TRD Pro. Like, I think I would love to be in a point in my life where I could have it as a second vehicle one day.
Sure.
But, like...
This is a great second vehicle.
Amazing second vehicle. Obviously, that's really expensive. But I think I'm really, like... I'm appreciating understated cars more than I ever have in my whole life. It's like, dude, sometimes you just want to be in something and have no one notice you.
Yeah. Capable
car, spacious car, and just kind of do your thing. And I think this is a great example of that. So I think I would take this too.
That's funny where that's where your mind went, because my mind went to two main things. It's like, I'm going to be like driving this car a lot because it's a great car, and if this is my second car, the other one's going to be a death trap race car that I'm not going to want to drive to the grocery
Literally.
store. So this thing is way more comfortable than a Wrangler. It's going to have better AC. It's going to be quieter. It's going to be like just generally more comfortable to daily drive. And also, when it comes down to like going on off-road excursions, because that's going to be something you're doing if this is your second car or a Wrangler, I want to take the thing that is more tried and true. Like, I'm not necessarily going to be rock crawling this thing, on my weekends. I'm just going to be overlanding it a little bit, maybe taking it through some rivers or something like that.
Yeah.
And I want the thing that's not going to break down in the middle of the Everglades. You know?
Yeah, I don't think people got to talk about that more, man. Like, because again, we've had some off-road experience, and a capable car is fun, but I'll tell you what's more fun: getting home, bro.
Yeah.
Getting home is more fun. Like, that's such an important part of off-roading in a way that a track car is not.
Yeah.
Like, if a track car blows up on you, yeah, it sucks, but, like, you're going to survive.
People are going to rush to the scene with fire extinguishers.
Yeah, when we were up there with the snowmobiles, it dropped from 28 degrees down to, like, 5. It's like, if you get stuck out there, like, you're going to have a really bad time. like, it's a very different beast.
Yeah, no, if I get my car put into, like, limp mode because of like an O2 sensor issue on the top of a mountain,
yeah, you're cooked.
I'm cursing Jeep.
You're cooked.
You know what? If I get back home,
if I make it, you better. That's what Jeep's banking on, that you don't make it back, so you can't sue them.
So yeah, I think it goes towards just comfort and peace of mind with this thing. Surprisingly, maybe we're just getting old.
Yeah, maybe. Okay, question number 2. Which kind of you already answered, honestly. It's, would you daily this? And the answer was yes. We pretty much wrapped that up.
Resounding yes. This car is hella dailyable. Yeah.
I agree. Okay, question number 3. We know the car is great. We have nothing but glaze for this car. But what's wrong with it?
Alright, so, I mean, obviously, like, we're always going to criticize powertrain. Like, yes, that V6 is bulletproof, but it is literally a 20-year-old engine. And you're paying top dollar for it. So that feels kind of grimy. I don't care if Toyota is the greatest company ever and those things go to 300,000 miles. It feels grimy to pay top dollar, inflation included, for an engine that came out 20 years ago.
I agree. I think an upgraded powertrain in this thing would be awesome.
But then they did upgrade and they gave us a 4-banger, which I don't feel great about either.
Yeah, I agree. Let me try and think. What else is wrong with this car? It's really tough. Like, this car is really perfect in a lot of ways. I think the only thing is similar to what you said, but maybe design. Like, this thing is so expensive and so incredibly capable and good that if they could just make it a little bit more aggressive looking. I think the 25 did a good job with that. But, like, just make it look like what it actually is. Like, they did a good job with the Toyota Supra of, like, making that car look like it's a sports car. And this thing looks good, but, like, I think it could be a little bit more aggressive. I think the Bronco packages and the Wrangler packages and the Raptor packages, like, those all do a really good job, and I think this could be a little bit better.
Yeah, Toyota. Well, you know, that was another interesting thing I noticed online. It's like, you can get a Wrangler, you can get pretty much any Ford car any way you want it, you know what I mean? But Toyota just kind of sells you something. It's like, here it is.
Yeah.
They don't have too many packages. Have you seen the new Land Cruiser?
Oh yeah, I have seen that thing.
So
Yeah.
the Land Cruiser has like functionally like a lot of overlap with this car, and the pricing has a lot of overlap too. It's a little bit more expensive, but these cars kind of end up in the same range, and I think that did way better of a job communicating what the vibe of this car is. Obviously, the Land Cruiser has a whole different lineage, and they reflected that by making it much more like classic. They gave it the classic Toyota badge. They gave it a vertical windshield like the OG like Safari cars, like kind of like a Mercedes from back in the day. But I really think that this thing could have been put there. And I think that Toyota left too much of the Tacoma styling in this thing when they designed it.
Yeah, I disagree. I think the Land Cruiser's not bad, but I prefer the 4Runner.
Really?
Yeah, actually. Especially the new 4Runner. I just prefer that to the Land Cruiser's design, which I know like might be controversial.
I think it's a preference thing. I love the Land Cruiser because I love retro stuff.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that'll transition us into talking about our next segment, Glaze This, Not That, presented by Mickey Thompson Tires. So you can turn all that hopping and popping into skeeting and yeeting. That's just their slogan.
Okay, so you're going to have a tough time with this.
I am going to have a tough time with this. The bottom line is that as a generalist vehicle, this is just what you get. I cannot recommend, if somebody gives me very few details, they're like, hey, I need an SUV. Like, all right, cool, get a 4Runner. But there are specific cases where I'd recommend other things. There's something to be said, and we talked about this in the Jeep episode, but the open air experience. That's something you're not going to get in a 4Runner. And there is a direct competitor that will give it to you, the Ford Bronco.
Yeah, I mean, that's true.
So
essentially what you're saying for the people is don't buy this because it sucks, buy the Ford Bronco.
No.
That's what you're saying.
Absolutely not.
Okay, well, yeah, perfect.
Shout out to Ford for even becoming like anywhere in the conversation next to the 4Runner. That is just a testament to how much better they've made the Bronco than a lot of the other cars in their lineup. Ford's had like a good redesign over the last few years. So
yeah, look at the Ford Bronco interior. Compare that to this thing.
Yeah, the Ford Bronco interior is so much cooler.
Yeah, and even the new refresh 4Runner interior. Yeah, it's nicer for sure, but like not as nice as the Ford Bronco interior. I think they did a really good job.
So the Bronco interior, if you want the rugged vibe, if you kind of just want to be immersed in that culture a little bit more, I can recommend that. The Land Cruiser, like I said, dude, it's a small price step up. I very much prefer the styling. It's going to be significantly more luxurious for you. I think it comes at the trade-off of a small amount of customizability because of the wide aftermarket for the Tacoma. That also applies to this. And it also comes in a small trade-off of, again, the departure and approach angles. I think this has slightly better ones. But other than that, it's an incredibly similar car, and I just genuinely like it a little bit more. Finally, I can recommend the Tacoma, and I know the Tacoma doesn't really, like, it's like, yes, this is a Tacoma, and, like, I want this because I don't want the truck bed, but if you want a manual transmission, the 4Runner doesn't come with one, and the Tacoma does.
Yeah, I would want a manual transmission because I'm a sicko and it's fun, but I have heard a lot of people argue that off-roading is more comfortable than automatic.
Yeah.
I drove this thing automatic in the mountains, and, like, during that blizzard, and I was very happy it was automatic. The Wrangler we were driving in the swamps was manual.
Yeah.
And I was very happy that was manual. So I guess it just depends on like where you're at and what you're doing.
Sure. Yeah, no, I definitely wouldn't want a manual car in the snow. I mean, that just takes an incredible amount of skill, and I grew up in Miami, so I do not have that skill. Mm-hmm. But yeah, certainly if you do want a manual, you get this thing with a truck bed on it, and you also get a manual. So at the end of the day, like I said, you can't really beat a 4Runner. Even if you do like those things, I can still recommend the 4Runner.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
All right, you ready?
Let's do it.
Glaze score. So, first things first, performance.
Performance can do anything. Just literally, I don't care. Rock climbing, you pull a deer out of a frozen lake. I don't know. Tow a snowmobile down a frozen mountain in the middle of a blizzard. I don't know. It can do anything. 6.
Yeah. I think I have to go 7. Yeah. Like, I would see this thing on paper and go 5 or 6, but I got to give it one more point for just actually saving my life. Like, it just it did perform. Like, I gotta give it one more point for that.
That's very fair.
And I think, again, it's like, when you talk performance, so much of what we do here is like think about how fun it is to drive, or showing it off to your passengers, those kinds of things. But this has a different kind of performance. Mm-hmm. It's like a reliable performance. And when you're talking about an off-road vehicle, it just matters so much.
Yeah, this car is the embodiment of, if you do your job well, nobody will be sure if you've done anything at all.
Dude, straight up. Okay, design, what do you got?
Design, I put 7, actually. And it's a hot take, because this thing is very understated, but the aftermarket builds are crazy looking, dude. Have you seen these things done up?
They are.
For some reason, more than a lot of off-road trucks, more than the Jeep Wrangler, when people actually do these things up with lift kits, over fenders, large tires, roof racks, everything, they just look incredible. Those builds are so clean.
I think they are super clean, and I think you can do this thing up really well. But I think out of the factory, I think this thing is a 5. And I think that, like, I actually really like this car. I do. I think it looks great. But I think it's like almost trying to be average. Like, if that makes sense. Like, it's not trying to do too much. It's trying to be cool and understated at the same time. And I think it reflects in the design. It's like, this is just, if I'm looking for an off-road truck, I see this thing, I'm like, oh, nice. Like, it doesn't do more than that or less than that for me.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. It's definitely like a blank canvas. But man, when these things are done up, like, they look like a Swiss Army knife. They're fire.
They're insane. All right, value. What do you got?
Value, 7. Like I said, so the issue here, and it's one of the problems I have with this car, is that you are paying top dollar for old hardware, which doesn't feel good. But the reality of owning this thing is the resale value is incredible. So this is just one of those cars that you can drive for almost no money. So I have to give it a 7 just for the low cost of ownership, because, you know, on top of that, you're not going to pay $1 in maintenance.
Yeah, so I went 5. Which is surprising, because this car is so incredible. But one thing that the 4Runner is not is cheap.
Yeah.
It's the one thing that this car is not. Just because it's got a Toyota badge on it, you look at this thing on the road and think this thing is cheap, it's not cheap. And so it has a ton of value, but it is expensive. I mean, you really can get a car that won't do things as well, it won't do them as reliably, but can do similar things for like $20,000 less.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, there's a lot of down points for this car, and it's, I mean, again, like, it's old hardware. It gets like terrible gas mileage. Like, it just has abysmal power figures, but at the end of the day, man, it doesn't matter, in my opinion.
Yeah, but look at those, like, just look at the roof rack, the wheels, like, it's just like, you've heard all the reviewers say it already, but that's a fake hood scoop.
Yeah.
Which is weird, but the skid plate,
yeah,
TRD on the bottom,
skid
like,
plate's so fire, dude.
Nah, it is a beautiful car. I have to give it that.
Yeah. Toyota's so cute for like having like visual packages. It's so minimal compared to like what other companies are doing. Like, take a look at Ford. They have 50 options for every single submodel, whereas Toyota's just like, okay, we'll put a hood scoop here, and we'll put a roof rack there, and maybe a little bit of like beefier tires right here, and that's good with us.
Yeah. I mean, look, it works. They sell these things.
Yeah.
All right, perception. What do you got?
Perception, 5. And I have an interesting story about this. I would have given it a 4, but I gave it an extra point because I had a conversation with a few of my girlfriends, and they had said that this was a green flag car for guys to drive.
Okay, explain.
Like, it's just like, oh, he's like responsible. He like has money. He like, it's like a very like masculine car, in that it has like a lot of different capabilities. Like, it's just a green flag of a car. So it gets a point for, I think girls like it. At least my friends do.
Yeah, I gave it a 3.
Really?
Yeah, and I think that was hard to do, because I really do love this car, but I just know for a fact that random bystanders on the street see this car and do not even think about it. Like, there's just no nice. It's just like they actually, common traffic, don't even see it.
Yeah.
And perception is the place where I grade that.
Yeah.
I've already graded the other places, and I love this car, but perception to the general public, this car it doesn't have much.
I'm not going to, because I agree with you, but I could make the argument that the success and perception for this car is that it is not perceived.
And I would agree with you. That's why I would personally want one.
Yeah.
I want a car with a lower perception score. Like,
Yeah,
I agree with you.
Yeah, you don't even need to tint the windows in this thing. Like, you just drive it.
Agreed. But all right. I can't believe that came so quickly. Like, this car is, again, I have a lot of personal connections with the cars that we review. I'm sure that you do as well. But this one is, like, really special. I can't overstate that enough. Like, this car got me out of a sticky situation, saved me, saved my friends, got us all back home safely. Love this thing.
Shout out to the TRD Pro.
Yeah. With that said, thanks for watching, guys.